T, once again you're here. Nate's on his 50th trip of the month, this time going to the moon apparently. I don't know how this man, being so poor, can afford traveling so much, but I mean, he must just stop and do, favors along the way on the road. You got the truck drivers having long, lonely drives. I think he's got to get out there, give a little bit of roadside service, and he's back on his way. That's my assumption.
I completely support it. And I have seen him traveling. I just assumed that he was on a nice long walk.
No, absolutely
They were in shorter shorts than I've seen.
He's enjoying a nice long something, though, that's for sure. And I just wanted to start a rumor today, but let's talk a little bit about the DCEU. Now, if you enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We appreciate you. We are over 110,000 subscribers, thanks to you. And it's got to keep growing. It's slowed down lately. What are you doing? Get your family to subscribe. Make them watch. I don't care if it's at gunpoint. Just don't blame me. I'm not actually suggesting that. That's a joke. But if you did, at least the watch time would go up. Let's talk DCEU, because this thing is a mess. Now, we both love this universe, I would say, in different ways, okay? We came out of BVS Theatrical and defended it.
Correct.
We enjoyed it. The ultimate cut is much better,
which was a tough hill to die on, I've got to say.
Yeah. Well, we were also years younger.
Correct.
What was that? 5 years ago?
At least, yeah.
Maybe more. So I guess it was more, actually. It's been forever since BVS.
That's kind of crazy, yeah.
So I think that kind of leads us into this, because the problem with this universe is that it is incredibly disjointed. Now, there is really, and never has been, a good plan. Zack Snyder was kind of forced into Justice League, and we found that out after the fact. Not that he didn't want to still do it, but sort of was put in a position where he had supposedly wanted to do a Man of Steel direct sequel. He had wanted to do more of a slow build and make more Superman and do more other stuff like that. And they were like, no, Batman. The studio was kind of like, put Batman in there. It's like, okay. And then they kind of were pushing him to build up to Justice League with those films the best he could. And then he got thrown under the bus when it wasn't received well, which is interesting to me, because it was really a case of studio interference, forcing his hand in a certain direction and then being like, but see, we didn't do that. Snyder made those movies. It's like, yeah, but you made him do that, and then you see him come back for something like Zack Snyder's Justice League, where it's not the Joss Whedon cut, where people aren't falling on women's boobs and there's not all kinds of ass grabbing jokes and stuff. And it's actually taken more seriously. And it's just an infinitely better film, even though it is very long.
Wait. Hold on. Side note. So I'm watching Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Joss Whedon directed that too, didn't he?
Yeah.
There is a banner falls in Black Widow's boobs in that movie too.
Yeah, it's something he does very often.
That's his shtick? That's what he does?
I don't know. I guess, yeah. I don't even have a problem with sexualization in movies. I don't care at all.
I just forgot he did it in the DC too. That's hilarious.
It's funny and stupid that's just kind of his thing, is doing something dumb in the movie.
That just clicked for me. We're literally just watching it right now and it just happened. But no, that was, and we've talked about this before. It's really hard not to compare it to Marvel and the strategy that they had and why they're so successful.
It's even harder when a lot of the people who like DC are upset that Marvel is so successful and DC isn't.
Right. And it's frustrating.
We're not digging the knife in.
No.
It's just frustrating to us too.
It sucks, because I personally prefer DC characters. I think they're both great, but I like DC characters more. I tend to gravitate more towards them. So when the Marvel universe is so much more well developed, and it seems that there is a plan, and there always was a plan, even if there always wasn't, it's frustrating to see what's happened with DC, and especially now that we finally, it seemed, had something going with something like Ezra Miller's Flash movie, and now that is completely not looking good, we'll say. And then you've got a mixture of things like Aquaman 2, completely shrouded in controversy with Amber Turd, aka Heard, and then you've got just a variety of other issues surrounding the DC universe, DC extended universe, that is. It's really hard to, first of all, understand what's going on. Even as someone who follows it, I have to kind of break things down and try to understand, where are we? What characters are in this?
What's coming out?
What matters?
What does this connect to? Now you have the Batman and Joker, they're on their own.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, by the way.
No, I'm fine with it.
But it's still confusing a little bit to people.
Well, yeah, and that's why it feels like it almost feels like the DCEU, that they're hanging on to that with Aquaman 2, Shazam 2, and now Black Adam technically being in that universe. But then they're branching out with Pattinson's Batman and Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. It's almost like they have two separate things going on, is what it feels like. And given Pattinson and Joaquin are not related in their universes, obviously they're not connected. But it does feel like it's almost like they've split. We're like, hey, we're gonna move on with some other stuff, but also we're gonna keep this going because it makes money and people know these guys. And so it almost feels like there should be a hard reset. The problem is with a hard reset at this stage is that you're going to have a new Aquaman, or you're going to have a new Wonder Woman, or you're going to do all this stuff so soon after people have gotten to know Godot, Momoa, Cavill, Affleck, and now Pattinson.
And then the problem is half of them are gone, too. I mean, you've got Fisher, gone.
Yeah.
You know, no Cyborg. You've got Affleck, gone, back. Maybe gone again, maybe back again, who knows?
Miller.
Batman, who knows? Miller, all over the place. Even if this movie does come out, which supposedly they doubled down on releasing because of the amount of money. I don't know if you saw this.
They did double down, okay.
Yeah, it was a news story recently because they put millions and millions of dollars into this. So supposedly they have doubled down on releasing that movie in theaters, not HBO Max, in theaters, to not lose all that money, which I don't even know how well it'll do anyway. The Flash movie was already on rocky ground to start because Flash is not a household name. Even if you love him, he's just not. He's not Batman, he's not Wonder Woman, he's not Superman. This is his first big movie. And all he's got going for him is the Flash CW show, which after the second or third season is not really a high selling point, like to get people into the Flash. I'm just saying.
No, and it makes sense to pair that film launch with Keaton and bring back nostalgia and someone that people knows as kind of like a, hey, Flash is here. Also, look, Batman. It's Michael Keaton. Please check this out. See what you think. Maybe this grows Flash.
He's a gateway drug to Flash.
He really is.
That's what he was. I mean, really. And they haven't even marketed off Affleck at all yet.
No.
Like, it's just been Keaton. He's been the gateway drug. Like, let's bring back the old fans. Let's bring back new fans to the DCEU. You know, you see Marvel doing the same kind of thing. I'm going to say a spoiler warning for Doctor Strange 2. I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure someone hasn't seen it. If you're like the one guy out in the military and you listen to this channel, one, I'm sure you can find something better to listen to. But two, I understand why you didn't see it. So here we go. Bringing back Patrick Stewart, for Professor X, even for like a one-off. Bringing in John Krasinski for Mr. Fantastic, a fan casting in that movie.
Peggy Carter,
bringing her in. I know that this is not DC, but the point that I'm getting at is the multiverse is starting to be embraced a little bit by both of them. I think DC is jumping to it a little quickly, which is too bad because DC, it seems like, is always playing catch up with Marvel. Like, Marvel had a good idea with No Way Home. Let's do that.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Even if they had the idea at the same time, it comes off that way because they kind of get to the punch after the fact, which sucks.
And it's the theme of DC's that they jump into things, it seems, too quickly and don't let things develop and kind of actually mature the way they need to.
They think they can skip a phase of development.
Which they can't do, and it shows. And that's the problem, and that's why it feels like there needs to be almost a hard reset. The problem is that it feels like if you're going to do that, you almost have to take a break from making those movies for a while and let people just move on, really go in with Pattinson, Joaquin, and find some other projects, and maybe do some other side things if you like Black Adam. But you kind of have to start over at this point. The problem is, I don't feel like it's a very feasible thing either, and it puts them in a tough spot where I get why they've committed to it, because I like Momoa as Aquaman. I like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
I even liked Ezra as Flash.
I did too.
I mean, and I want to try and watch the Flash movie in whenever I do see it, whether it's, early on or not. I feel kind of weird going and giving it money now, but it's still going to be like in the back of your mind, you know, and there's going to be a lot of people who just don't pay to see it. There's also going to be a lot of people who don't pay to see Aquaman 2. I could see it still making, $600 million, $700 million. I don't think this one will cross $1 billion like the last one did. Up there in I think it was early billions or late 900 millions. I don't think this will hit that high either after all the controversy. And that's why The Flash was, I don't know about now, but was so important. The supposed leaks and story around it was that it worked as both. This was going to work as a reset, but also work as a continuation. So what it was going to do was kind of like lead into a timeline where we kind of bring in Keaton and maybe Affleck comes back. Supposedly, this is a potential spoiler, but supposedly the ending of the film was reworked and originally Affleck was going to die and now he's not. I don't know. We don't know any solid information. That was the leak, was that originally he was like, kill me off. I hated working with Whedon. I hated all this crap. I'm done. Thanks for the money. I want out. but that now, you know, with the possible little bit more involvement from Snyder coming back a little bit, at least with the Justice League, maybe some future involvement, we don't know, the clamoring for the Snyderverse, the clamoring to see Affleck again, then the leak was supposedly that he was into that, appreciated it, and wanted to have a potential spot in the future. But now this movie's like cursed. All the bad publicity around it. We don't know what they'll do with that ending. We don't know if he'll be back or not. But we did know that Keaton was going to come in. Keaton was supposedly actually going to have a little bit of a cameo in Aquaman 2 maybe as well. This was something released a while back. And he was going to help herald in the Batgirl. But now if the person connected to Keaton coming in is just a hot mess, and that movie has become a train wreck, your vessel to do all these things is ruined. It would be kind of like Loki, how Loki introduced the multiverse to Marvel. I know a lot of people didn't watch the Disney Plus show, but it did do this. Imagine Tom Hiddleston got in like the biggest shitstorm of all time, and you are relying on Loki to introduce the multiverse. Well, now, that sucks. It's not like, you know, the thing after it happened to. No, it's the vessel to introduce this entire concept. You've poisoned the well of it. That's what has happened here, where the well is poisoned on The Flash. I'm not saying people won't see it. I'm not saying it won't make money. But there's going to be a lot of people who just straight up ignore it. People who are fans of the Snyderverse, who are mad at the reset and merge in with Supergirl and merge in with Batgirl and stuff like that. And they feel like this is just being done to replace the male actors. There's a camp like that. There's a camp who feels like it's just being done to put a Band-Aid on the Snyderverse, just in general, that they never got to work. There's a camp that feels like it's being done just to completely reboot, and they were invested in the Snyderverse, and now they don't have that investment anymore, you know, because a lot of that's going to be kind of retconned along in the timeline. So you've kind of poisoned your well of everybody. You know, like all these groups of fans, the people who've been there from the beginning like us, to the people who came in later for Snyder, or who maybe even were jumping on board just because it's Flash now, just seeing Ezra Miller stuff. The vessel for introducing the multiverse and bringing all these things together, it's just so tainted. Whereas if it was at least Batgirl or something that had this around it, you'd at least be able to introduce that concept, and one follow-up thing would have a taint on it, and you could go other directions. Now the very thing to get you to branch out is like, I don't know, a pariah. Like, people don't want to touch it, and they're worried about it, and they're looking at it like, oh my god, what's Ezra Miller going to do next? You know, like, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Ezra Miller walked into the First National Bank with an Uzi and was like, you know, basically like, right, pointing it at kids, calling them like enhanced beings or whatever.
Yeah, well, and the problem is too, is it's your comparison with Loki too, and him bringing in the multiverse. The problem, and with that too, Loki and Tom Hiddleston say that something did happen like that. They at least have a solid foundation of like, well, at least we have the rest of the Marvel Universe. We've already had Endgame. We've had all this stuff.
Yeah, you can course correct, I guess.
DC is in such a state of fragility that they needed some form of stability with this in order to do such a reset, which does actually make sense for doing that. Is it's kind of like a soft reboot.
It's New 52.
Yes.
Remember New 52? It's like that.
Definitely.
And then later on, if you want to, you can bring certain things back. Rebirth did that, where it was like, right, yeah, New 52 there is like technically an original timeline out there, and there's the split, but like, let's bring back the memories they had before that. Let's like combine some stuff, bring back Wally West. Look, here it is. It's the new stuff and the old stuff combined. They were set up to do that. They were getting people hyped. People were like, Keaton, man, dude, Ezra was good in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm excited. And then they started dropping the ball with things like, well, we consider the Joss Whedon cut to be the canon one. And they dropped the ball there, and like, people were like, oh no. They dropped Ezra Miller dropping the ball every 2 seconds. Literally, I don't even want to know what Ezra Miller's doing with balls. I don't want to know. Yeah. Talking about you're touching my penis when you're arresting me and stuff. It's just bizarre. Like, what do you do now? Like, you don't have that foundation, and this was going to be the new foundation.
Yeah.
This was going to be the new foundation for the universe.
And that's the biggest problem, is that they now don't have that. And that's, with the soft reboot, you could still, like you said, have those older characters and then bring in new characters. And then you're kind of allowing for that reset to take place naturally, and you can use the multiverse to expand and grow and actually still take the direction, your DCEU in the right direction, while still having Pattinson and Phoenix doing their thing over here.
And if you want to, you could even bring them in at some point for like a cameo or a spin-off or whatever.
Because you have that option.
Yeah.
But now with this, and hopefully, I mean, if they're going to double down and do it, and they're like, listen, we have no choice, this has to go out, the entire dependency of our our plan moving forward relies on this reset here, then I get why they're doubling down. It puts them in an awful spot, which is completely on Ezra Miller. But at the same time, you kind of have to, if you want to move forward, and obviously they want to make money, obviously they've got plans and things in development right now that they've already invested money into, they kind of have to move forward with this and don't have a choice. So that's why I think that, I mean, yeah, it sucks, but they have to do this. It kind of has to be done in order for them to move forward. And if they ever want to get, not on the par of Marvel, but even just to have some form of stability, if we got a lineup of characters that we can rely on, and we're going to aim for some sort of maybe team up in the future that's going to be our big culmination of things, they have to have a direction, and this is the start of that direction. And it's just kind of sad, like you said, that the vessel's been poisoned.
You know what makes me a little sad is that it reminds me of late Fox X-Men compared to MCU. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
Where, like, it was just kind of in a state of, like, fragility. We don't know where it's going. We lost Jackman. What are we going to do? Oh, no, we probably shouldn't have based our whole universe on just Wolverine.
Yeah.
And kind of trying to figure that out. And, you know, when they were at their peak, like, when they were first... Like, you can say what you want about Man of Steel and BVS. They made bank.
Oh, yeah.
They made bank. And so did Aquaman. You know, when they were, like, building...
Wonder Woman did, too.
It did, yeah. You're absolutely right. And even 84 did pretty good, even though we have our problems.
Right.
You know, when you look at, like, when they were building up, the potential was there. I think that's the worst part is, if Man of Steel came out and was just a god-awful movie, I wouldn't care as much. Like, it would bum me out, but we both liked it, you know? I think it's a very good movie, and I think that because of all of this, it's just one of those things where... It's frustrating to see that they had that potential early on. They had that building up. And now it's just like drop ball after drop ball. It's like fumble after fumble. And now you're kind of sitting here like, I like these characters. You and I own the steelbooks for every movie.
Right.
You know, we're invested just because of who it is. And they can't bring it home.
No.
It just sucks.
It does.
I don't know. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. What do you think? Do you think that this is the way to go? It's just doubling down on the Flash, doing kind of that soft reboot and moving on from here? Do you think that this is all a Band-Aid on the Snyderverse? I mean, I think it might be kind of, I don't know, obvious that it is. But do you think the Band-Aid will work? Do you think they should bring back Snyder? Do you think they should just scrap all of this and restart? I don't know. I'm interested. The way I see it going eventually is that we'll probably get this universe transitioned to HBO Max and just kind of get occasional things there. You can hear my wife working on lunch upstairs. So
yeah, things like Peacemaker and things like that, I think will keep going because Peacemaker was great. So you know, I could totally see that.
You could always move them over to a new universe too.
Yeah,
you know, kind of like what they did with Miles Morales, moving him from the dead Ultimate Marvel universe to the mainline comics. I don't know. The potential's there, but let us know what you think down below. Please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content if you enjoyed this video. And check out everything in the description down below, including my wife's wonderful Etsy shop where she makes all kinds of gifts and stuff for everyone. Helps to support the channel and keep us going. We've got a Patreon. We've got all kinds of lovely stuff. And we'll see you in the next one. As always, everyone, stay shui. And I should go help the cymbal player upstairs before we get the whole 10-piece band going in the background.
Yeah.